In this episode, more acronyms than you can handle. Welcome to Licensure Lifeline. This is your host, Matt Lawson, and today we're going to be talking a bit about the cognitive behavioral therapies. I'll briefly touch on the basis of CBT and then the evolution of other cognitive behavioral approaches that stem from this. What I'm hoping to do with this episode is kind of lay down some framework of the other two episodes that I'm hoping to do this week that are going to go deeper and provide more detail about CBT and some of the other cognitive behavioral approaches. The hope here is to create this series around a theme each week. So I'm hoping that might be something that will just hit a little bit better and give me a little bit more to talk about. To start, I bet you're wondering what Aaron Beck was doing in the 1960s. You might be surprised to find out that he was actually trying to validate psychoanalytical concepts of depression, but his studying ended up taking him in a bit of a different direction. Beck observed the profound impact that thoughts had on both emotions and behavior, thus laying the foundation or starting to lay the foundation for what would become cognitive behavioral therapy, better known as CBT. The more Beck studied these individuals, he could see that they were engaging in internal monologue of entirely negative thoughts, focusing on themes such as loss and failure, rejection, and worthlessness, hopelessness. These streams of thought often manifested automatically and were accepted by the clients as truth without question. This is what Beck would come to term automatic thoughts. You know how this works. A trigger in our environment tends to lead to a way of thinking. And unfortunately, a lot of the times that way of thinking for many of us tends to be pretty negative. And this becomes a very automatic way of thinking. Further, Beck identified specific patterns in these thoughts, which he would later come to call cognitive distortions. The distortions included all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, catastrophizing, and personalization. Beck posited that it wasn't events themselves that upset people, but the meaning that people gave those events that really caused them to be upset or to be angry. And he termed this cognitive appraisal. So you can imagine for somebody that's studying psychoanalytics at the time, this is a pretty significant departure from a modality that really focused on hidden meaning and unresolved conflicts from the past. CBT as a modality has been shown to be pretty efficacious and can be used for a variety of different issues. I know that some therapists I work with, I use CBT myself. I use a lot of behavioral and cognitive behavioral types of therapies. I know that my wife, she tends towards psychoanalytics, and we have fun arguments about that. It was my fault for marrying a therapist, but it's really interesting her take on CBT and some of the other cognitive behavioral therapies. She sees them as too kind of automatic and industrial and almost robotic with the way that you work with somebody, kind of life coachy, where it's you follow this path and this pattern of doing things, and then that's how you come around to supporting or helping a person, versus psychoanalytics, where you delve a bit deeper into that individual's psyche. Um, but I really feel that this is something that you can delve into a psyche just as easily as any of the other modalities, including psychoanalytics. From CBT, we see other cognitive behavioral approaches develop, including rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, and dialectical behavioral therapy. So Albert Ellis came up with rational emotive behavior therapy. Similar to Aaron Beck, he believed that it wasn't events or other people that upset you, it was you that upset you. Albert Ellis was also known for really pushing the envelope and getting people outside of their comfort zone when he was working with them. This individual was known for having people do things like sing at the top of their lungs on a bus, or go up to a stranger and ask for directions, or ask something that might be a little intimate, to really get somebody out of their comfort zone, really work on them, seeing that they have more control over their situation, that they have more control over the way they see their situation than they actually realize. DBT, or dialectical behavior therapy, was developed by Marsha Linehan, who originally created this to support people with borderline personality disorder. This has actually become a really popular approach, I think, because of one of the more significant components around mindfulness, the Buddhist practice of mindfulness, where people really learn to address their intense emotions and emotional dysregulation. Well, that basically is emotional dysregulation. And then focus on skills that enable people to interact more effectively and assertively with others. The other two modalities I'm going to talk about within the cognitive behavior therapy realm is ACT and CBASP. So ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, is something I've used a lot with eating disorders and body image issues, assertiveness training, things like that. And the other one, CBASP, I'm not as familiar with actually. And I'm going to do the episode on later in the week with about ACT and this modality. So I will be learning along with you on this one. Okay, let's do some questions. First question. Aaron Beck is best known for developing which of the following therapies? Dialectical behavior therapy, psychodynamic therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, or Gestalt therapy? Correct answer is C, cognitive behavior therapy. Next question. What is the primary goal of cognitive behavior therapy? To uncover unconscious conflicts, to change how a client thinks about and reacts to certain situations, to improve the client's social skills, to regress the client's childhood experiences. Answer here is going to be B, to change how a client thinks about and reacts to certain situations. I didn't go over this next one, but bonus question. Which technique is most commonly used in cognitive behavior therapy to help clients deal with distorted thinking? A, free association, B, dream analysis, C, cognitive restructuring, or D, reflective listening? Answer here is going to be C, cognitive restructuring. I just signed up to take the NCM HCE, so I'm going to give you a scenario that you might see on that test. You are seeing a client who reports significant job-related stress and feelings of inadequacy. The client describes experiencing automatic negative thoughts about their performance and capabilities almost daily, which intensifies their anxiety and hinders their ability to work effectively. First question, what steps would you take to assess and begin treatment for this client? A, conduct a detailed assessment of the client's thoughts patterns and identify specific cognitive distortions. B, explore the client's family history to uncover potential genetic causes of their anxiety. C, teach the client techniques for cognitive restructuring to address and modify negative thoughts. Or D, recommend the client take immediate time off from work to alleviate the stress. The correct answer is conduct a detailed assessment of the client's thought patterns and identify specific cognitive distortions. And C, teach the client techniques for cognitive restructuring to address and modify negative thoughts. So you'll see on the NCMHCE, if you haven't already started studying for it, that there will be more than one answer for many of these questions. Actually, almost all the questions. Some quick mnemonic devices for you. Beck, BECK. B stands for beliefs, focus on identifying and challenging irrational beliefs. E stands for emotions, understand how thoughts influence emotions. C, cognitive restructuring, techniques to change the negative thought patterns. And K, knowledge, apply knowledge of cognitive distortions, like black and white thinking and catastrophizing in therapy. All right, that is going to do it for this episode. Really hope you enjoy this one. Expect 2 more this week. I'm going to create one around ACT and the other modalities I talked about, as well as REBT and DBT. But until next time, keep studying.